everyone, welcome back to another episode of Astrology Now with astrologer Babula Clement and myself, Cheryl Gottschall. We have lots to talk about in this episode, some very important announcements, I guess you could say, and we're talking about the big shift coming with this new moon. And
yes, it's the Aquarian new moon, and it's a really important one. It's what we call a super moon, and I'll talk more about that shortly. And it's really setting the tone actually for the year ahead. And as many of you will be aware, it also marks the moment for Chinese New Year as well. So we're going to be talking about all things Aquarius and the Aquarian age.
Yeah, so so stay tuned. We'll be back with you soon. So Babula and I are going to give you a cosmic weather report, I suppose, and about this powerful time, which is a great time for forward thinking, thinking about what's your vision of the future. And I just love it when there's Aquarian transits happening. What about you, Babula?
Yeah, me too. Me too. That Aquarian energy is very much aligned with astrology and astrologers and anybody interested in astrology and the stars and the star trails and so on. It really connects to that. And of course, the Aquarian age that we're in this transition to is a big theme for all of us, for everybody. It's huge.
Huge, yeah. So, we've been riding the waves of turbulence, but the time has come for the unicorn to return to Earth.
Yes.
To blaze the way for humanity to accomplish its, its spiritual rebirth in a way, and cosmic awareness.
Yeah.
And I know with myself, I always feel really elevated and expanded with Aquarian transits. And I feel like this is an auspicious moment in our cosmic cycle to lift our intellect to a new way of thinking.
Absolutely. Our intellect, our consciousness, our awareness, big picture expansion, taking in more and more, really expanding the capacity of our brain, of our mind, of our consciousness, of our nervous systems. Really, like, rapid expansion is taking place, which is why we're also experiencing a lot of stress that comes with that as well.
The old nervous system is a bit buzzy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
People aren't sleeping properly.
Yep.
They're on high alert, the energy's buzzing.
Yep, sure is. It sure is. Yeah.
So for me, and I just say this purely what I'm tuning into. For me, the Aquarius and the Aquarian age has a feel to it of Atlantis and the stories around Atlantis, combining advanced technology with spirituality, with centers of healing and learning where we come together and build new structures to raise our consciousness. What are your feelings about that?
Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way, actually, that it does have that feeling about it. And I think it's very interesting. I think humanity since that time has been through a process of devolution, descending into kind of lower vibrational levels, like 3D, like really dropping down. And it's part of, bigger cycles. I mean, in India, of course, they talk about the Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of research into this some years ago because I was presenting a workshop all about the Aquarian age, and I started to really delve into different cultures who have their different systems of time and time frame, but how at certain points all of them come together in a certain agreement about these longer historical phases of time, and that we are at a massive crossroads now. Like, we're not talking like yet. I remember decades ago we were talking about it all the time.
Yep.
We're now in it.
Yes.
We're literally living it on a daily basis in our life. It's here, this huge transition. And there's a lot to say about Aquarius. We could just sit here for the next hour and just talk all things Aquarius. So we will spend some time doing exactly that.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I wanted to say that, because Aquarius, in my thinking, is represents the new age, which of course is old age, but approached in a new way,
Yes.
in a new light with a strong dash of spirituality, because um, we can't expand our consciousness and not go there to our spiritual nature, I don't think.
No.
So for
Agree.
me, there's a feel of a new age, a new earth about to be
Yeah.
born, where we can create places or hubs where people can come together from different backgrounds but meet on mutual ground. So this real, equal, finding these equal points in
Yeah.
society where we open the doors and everyone's welcome, no matter what your background is, all those sorts of things.
Exactly. And it's so interesting in Aquarius because it is about humanity and shared humanity and community and group and, new technology and intelligence and consciousness, but it's also a recognition, acceptance, and celebration of everyone's unique
Mm,
differences,
yeah.
right? And how to come together in community and group and form community so that everyone has like a seat at the table, as they say. Everyone has a voice, everyone participates and engages and is kind of moving forward with some kind of shared vision, but everyone brings their own unique gifts to that, and it's working together, which is not the way the world's been operating for quite some time, hundreds,
Mm,
actually thousands of years.
yeah.
But that's and for that to shift out of this old paradigm is no small thing. That's why it takes time and it's so intense and it's so challenging. It's a massive, massive thing.
Yeah. So this is a time where you don't have to feel like you've got to fit in. You don't have to toe the line with the status quo. In fact, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
You can be your quirky self, let your uniqueness express itself, basically.
That's right. And literally, some people won't be comfortable with this, but literally to rebel.
Mm, mm,
This is the sign of the rebel, but it's a rebellion against external forces of control. Like I know a lot of Aquarians, I'm sure you do. We've both got some strong Aquarius energy in it, in ourselves.
yeah.
But you'll hear Aquarians say things like, don't tell me what to think. Don't tell me how to be. Don't even tell me who I am.
Mm, mm,
Like anything you try to define me as, that's way too limiting.
mm,
And I'm going to reject it, or I'm going to react against it. It's that need to be free to just explore, experiment, rebel against any expectations.
mm, mm,
And I think it's, as you were saying, it's important that we do rebel against these old paradigms of absolute control. And I mean absolute
mm.
control. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. The external forces aren't going to give up that control,
No,
naturally. So people have to take a stand and
that's right.
say, no, we don't want this. Draw a line in the sand, whatever it is,
Yeah, that's right.
And
And
so,
and do that together, like coming together in groups and group movements, and whether that's in the form of rallies and marches, or people creating new communities to begin to create a new way of living. There's many variations in the way that can take place. You see it online everywhere in
mm,
the more alternative forms of media and platforms, of which there are now many. They're coming up everywhere. And it's what I'm seeing is this wonderful cross fertilization. There's certain people I follow and admire and respect their intelligence and vision and their rebellion against the old. And you'll see different people from those different platforms and systems start to pop up on each other's, and they're interviewing each other and they're having conversations together. So they're all connecting. There's this kind of network of individuals, but really aligning in the same way as we move forward. It's really fantastic.
yeah. So there's this sort of energy of things are new,
Yes,
new beginnings, and new ways of thinking, of behaving, new values, new technology,
yep,
new advancements, new health approaches, new, except for poor old
everything.
New Zealand, getting the quash on the natural supplements and all that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, and there's I've been feeling very we've been feeling very drained. We've been talking about that, how what we've been going through over the last couple of years has just been horrific, really, for our psyche,
Yeah.
and our emotional state.
Yes.
But this right now, I was just tuning into this morning. I thought, right now, there's a sense of going towards a different future. Yeah.
I agree.
Mm.
Yeah. And there's a kind of a feeling of a sort of tingle of excitement, isn't there, of the, we're looking more forward to what's actually possible and what we're creating and co-creating.
Yeah.
Together with each other, but also in connection to these other energetic cosmic divine forces. It's all of that.
Yes, and speaking of divine forces, I have my my spaceship earrings on with
Perfect.
some poor bugger getting abducted in the beam.
Absolutely fantastic. I love it.
So I thought I have to wear these because I can't forget the aliens.
No, that's right.
It's really interesting that the latest uh, intelligence services report has now come out just this week, just before the new moon in Aquarius. They were supposed to report in October last year, but this is the Department of National Intelligence, who was supposed to report to Congress last year about UFOs, the situation with UFOs and the research. But it's just come out in the last couple of days, been released. And I thought, wow, that timing is really good coming into this newness. I mean, and I think that's really interesting that there's movement on that front as well, because I think as we go forward as a society and a civilization, because Aquarius is futuristic, we're talking about Earth eventually in someone's lifetime becoming a multi-planetary society, right? Yeah, so we're not going to just be living on Earth. We're going to be out in space. We're probably going to have colonies on various planets in our solar system, and and living off planet, people born off planet. This is way in the future, but that's on the cards. That's going to happen.
That's right, because we're here on Earth in a human form, but that's not really who we actually are, is it? We've just taken on this form and shape and experience in this dimension, but as these dimensions rise and elevate and the energy keeps expanding and growing and elevating, everything changes.
Yeah.
And it's literally a shift of consciousness, an energetic shift of consciousness.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that will move us through this and out the other side into the new age. It's a shift of consciousness.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right.
And I think
connected to intelligence as well.
Yeah, and as more of these things come to the fore, mainstream society will change its focus, like you're saying.
Absolutely.
And I'll go 30 years ago when I got involved with the UFO subject, for example, there was a high amount of ridicule. Now it's like, these are reports going to Congress. I mean, that's a big shift for a civilization even just Western society in 30 years. It's ridiculous.
That's right. Well, I remember 30 years ago when I was, in my early days of astrology, you didn't sort of talk about astrology to everybody and anybody, and you sort of kind of check people out to sort of see who you could, have that conversation with, because there was there too ridicule. Oh, you don't believe in that nonsense, do you? Kind of reaction. And now it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And as soon as you mention astrology, people's ears pick up and they go, oh, yeah, I love that. I want to know more about that. So it's really changed.
Yeah. And it's also about artificial intelligence, isn't it? So, and there's a lot of issues coming up around that. There's concerns as well about artificial intelligence and, how much control it actually has. Right. And now that there's programs that write articles for you.
Exactly.
Artificial intelligence doing that. AI doing also, it's running the internet, so we have to be careful and discriminating about the information that we take in.
Because I think it depends on whose hands it's in, and what the intent is all about as to how these technologies are used, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like anything can be used for ill or good, and ultimately it's up to us, ultimately.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's about making our own decisions now. It's not about
That's
allowing ourselves to be the nanny state and governed by
that's
government.
right.
That's going to go. It's about us stepping up and being responsible for ourselves. And I was just reading yesterday about in Switzerland, they're now putting implants in people's brains or heads. Fortunately, it's not in the skull; it's just under the skin. But it's, so that of the convenience of not having to, I don't know, swipe a card for security reasons to walk into a building, or but there were the other reason. The positive reason was for health reasons, to treat depression, for example. But as we know, all things like that can be used perversely, and Aquarius has a perverse approach sometimes.
Exactly, because those chips are hooked up to technology and artificial intelligence that can be controlled by external forces. It's the same with, high-tech cars and everything. And I mean, God, we can go down that path, and that they're a lot more but there's so much involved in all of this, this Aquarian energy. I wanted to just do a little bit of an astrological backflip, and just sort of to bring in, because we are coming into this Aquarian new moon, and by the way, it'll be at 1 degree of Aquarius right in the early. I've been aware for some years that in the last 2 decades, say, there's been most of the slow moving outer planets have moved through the sign of Aquarius. And when something gets to 0 degrees, which is relevant to what we're going to talk about with the new moon and, Pluto going into Aquarius in March, that 0 degrees is a really powerful point. Like, it represents, it's a symbol for the birth of the new age, 0 degrees of Aquarius. And it feels to me like we're at that 0 point.
Yes. Yeah.
Collectively.
Yeah.
And so just quickly, and for those who really follow astrology, this will make sense. I'm not going to go into great detail about them, but just to sort of list them, I think it really helps us to, for me, it's a wow. 2003, Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, moved into Aquarius, hit 0 degrees, and for 7 years was in Aquarius, 2003 to 2010. A rapid acceleration of this Aquarian energy. You could say another portal opened to this Aquarian dimension. During that period, 2005, Chiron moved to 0 degrees of Aquarius and spent the next 7 years or so in Aquarius while Uranus was going through Aquarius. And Chiron is a bridge to between these worlds of our physical 3-dimensional reality and to other cosmic divine forces and connections. Like, he really is that bridge. And 2009, just before Uranus left Aquarius, Jupiter moved into Aquarius for a year. He was at 0 degrees of Aquarius, joining Uranus and Chiron in that sign. So there's a lot going on during that first decade of this millennium.
Yeah.
And then in 2011, Neptune, who spends 14 years in a sign, moved to 0 degrees of Aquarius and spent 14 years in the sign of Aquarius. And that really brings in a very high spiritual vibration. In December, you might remember this, it was a really, really important moment, and astrologers were sort of all over this one. In December, I think it was something like the 21st, I think, there was a very important conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degree. They happened to come together at exactly 0 degrees of Aquarius.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been any degree of Aquarius, but no, it was 0. They're a very important pairing. When those two come together every 20 years, it's called the Great Conjunction. It's really important. And it was and it hadn't been in an air sign for something like 800 years. And so for many reasons, that was an incredibly important moment. In March of 2022, there was a conjunction of Venus and Mars at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So every time something like this happens at that very early, I take notice. I go, wow, this is really, it's like an acceleration.
Yeah, it's ramping up.
Absolutely. And it's like pushing, if you like, us more and more, like, here we go, another big step forward into that energy, into that momentum. And as we know, in March, I think it's around the 23rd of March, our friend Pluto, the Lord of the underworld, will be at 0 degrees of Aquarius. That is so important and so huge.
Yes. Yeah.
So this new moon, I know it is, wow. So this new moon will be at 1 degree of Aquarius. So it's not quite 0, but like the day before, the sun will be at 0, and then the moon will come to 0, and then together they come together at 1 degree. I wanted to read something. Some people listening to this will be aware of the Sabian symbols, and there's a big story. Linda Hill, who I know quite well, she's an Australian astrologer. She's devoted most of her astrological life and career to the Sabian symbols, and she's got a big story about that. Anyway, every degree of the zodiac has a symbol that came through a channel. And they're quite remarkable. And Linda has a website and a book where she goes into every single degree and what that Sabian symbol, there's a name for every symbol, but then she unwraps it, and what this can relate to. So 0 degrees of Aquarius, the name of the degree is called an old Adobe mission. And I'm just going to briefly read a little bit about it. And so Linda says, this symbol shows a safe and comfortable place to live, work, and pray and practice our spiritual lives. The old Adobe missions were built with a great deal of effort, sacrifice, commitment, and a sense of community. With one eye on the path, the spiritual path, and the other on the very real everyday needs of the people it serves. And remember, Aquarius is ruled by 2 planets, Uranus, the modern ruler, bam, higher consciousness, and Saturn.
Yeah.
Let's make this actually work for the people in a really practical way.
Yes, yeah.
It's got to be functional.
Yeah.
Efforts are turned to creating infrastructures to pursue our visions and beliefs and goals. Relating is not about control, but acceptance and reverence of each person's divinity. There should be no pretensions, but a forging of links to new worlds. And she goes on, like some short pieces, natural surroundings, creating civilizations out of natural elements, finding places to work with spirit, like people coming together. Sanctuaries and learning, houses and centers. I mean, you run a center.
Yes, I do.
And people come, and it's called the Body Light Center.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But this is 0. I love this for 0 degrees. Now, the next degree, which is the new moon degree, which we'll come to shortly and talk about the new moon, the next degree has the name an unexpected thunderstorm.
Ooh.
Very Uranian, right?
Yeah.
Uranus being the planet that rules Aquarius. This symbol shows the need to withstand storms. And we are in a time of tremendous storm, like, the upheaval, the chaos, the uncertainty. It's like going through a massive storm.
Yeah, it's very turbulent.
Very turbulent. And things that come up unexpectedly. It can show sudden flashes of inspiration. That is Uranus, the Aquarius. Intuition, clairvoyance, Uranus, those aha moments, those flashes, like a bolt of lightning. Suddenly it's, oh, I've got it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah.
It can be thoughts and emotions that erupt out of nowhere. They can be brilliant. You may be suddenly tested or taken by surprise. This is also Uranus and energy. Inner strength and stability are put to the test, but you learn a lot. The effect can be liberating, although there may be some shock, initially shock. Thunderstorms clear the air after an extreme buildup, a sense of awe and wonder. Thunder, lightning, electricity, being a lightning rod. So I just think that's like those symbols are so fitting for what we're talking about.
Yeah, and that's on the day of the new moon.
That is the new moon degree.
Wow, one degree.
1 degree.
I think that's where my Venus is, in Aquarius, 1 degree.
Right. Yeah, I have one of the major asteroids right there at 0 of Aquarius. Yeah. So I just think that 0 and 1, in fact, 0, 1 degree of any sign is that really, it always represents a real shift and a birthing moment and a sense of what's possible.
Yes.
As we then move more fully into the sign, like it's pregnant with possibility, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think those symbols were just so fitting. I just had to speak to that. And, I have great respect for Linda's work. She's done amazing work there. So, yes, we are literally coming to the end of the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness and low dimensional vibrations on this planet. In times past, in very ancient times, humanity has lived in a state of very high vibration and consciousness, created very different civilizations. And then there was like a fall. The Bible talks about the fall.
Yes, it does.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm just thinking about, is this the time where we'll start evolving again?
Yes, and that curve begins to lift. And I think we've hit bottom.
Yeah.
I really do. I think we've absolutely hit bottom, and more and more people are like, there's an acceleration now, an uplift.
Yeah. And when you do hit bottom, the only way is up.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes. Well.
So yes. So, and of course, there's so many other things that relate to this. We could be for hours. Like
I know.
That's right. And I'm sure many people watching this who are very much in alignment with this energy of Aquarius will be, thinking, and this, there's so many things. So this is a really powerful new moon for a couple of reasons. One, for what we've just been talking about. The other thing is that it is a supermoon, and what that means, like, it's a phrase that's become very popular in recent years, but it just means that the moon itself, in her orbit around the Earth, is closer to the Earth, and so its energy is more strongly felt. And on these big and when it happens to be a new or a full moon, its presence is very strong, and it can quite often, according to the astrologers who study in great depth astrological weather forecasting, because it's a thing, but you really need to know what you're doing to do that. These are times when there's often kind of quite wild weather.
Yes, yeah. And we've been having wild weather where we are in our state, haven't we?
We have, and because the moon does have the moon has a huge impact on weather and everything that we're experiencing here.
Yeah, because Neptune's still in Pisces, isn't it? Or it is in Pisces. Yeah, so lots of water.
Lots of water. Exactly. So this new moon is at 1 degree of Aquarius, but it's actually still making a conjunction with Pluto, because there's Pluto at 28 degrees of Capricorn. So Pluto's still at those very last degrees of Capricorn until March. But it does have a very strong influence and an impact. And Pluto, when Pluto's strongly a strong presence or an influence, things can get really intense.
Yeah,
it's really powerful.
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of nail biting about that. I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? I feel like I'm going to unzip myself and a whole new Cheryl's going to come out. What's she look like?
Yes, that's right. It is. It's a real, butterfly emerging from the cocoon kind of thing. Because, Pluto is the Lord of darkness and the Lord of the underworld in Capricorn, coming to the end of Capricorn, which makes it really intense, because in those last 2 degrees of any sign, and this one's especially potent, there's a sense of whatever's left has to be fully and fully expressed. And it's like there's no time to be lost. You've got to throw everything at it. It's so those forces of control, they're just pulling out all the stops now.
They are, yeah.
Because they've got this year and next year to accomplish their end goal. And we know what that end goal is. And so they're just pulling out every stop and trying. That's right. But as each individual wakes up to what the hell's actually going on, it's another energetic influence on, lifting the vibration of the entire planet and the whole human race.
Yeah. Because Pluto is a destroyer of worlds, and it's really done its job over these last few years.
Has it ever?
Particularly. And, our world has been turned upside down. Doesn't matter where you are.
That's right.
Even if you're living in the desert, or, an Indigenous person and living in the bush or in the mountains or wherever, everyone's world has been turned upside down in one way or another.
Exactly.
And now it's, but I feel that the transition that we're going through now, and I guess that's what Pluto is, it's a transformation, isn't it, is it's going to be different, and it's going to be more on our terms.
Exactly. It really is. That's what this is about, isn't it? And so, Pluto is also about our empowerment, having to face the deep, dark truths and realities of something and emerging out of that process of transformation empowered.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is about to me, this process is about humanity growing up and becoming, every individual and collectively becoming empowered and literally growing up, getting off our knees and standing up and growing up.
Yeah, and that's that individuation process, which
that's right,
which actually relates to turquoise, because it's about us. It's about children stepping away from the parent, and that's what society is doing, is stepping away from government control.
Exactly.
And saying, no, I've got stuff I want to do. I want to be me. You're not going to control me. I'm going to grow up as an individual. And then the Aquarian energy is to come back collectively as responsible people.
Exactly, and work together. That's right. Yeah. So that's right. It's the state as the parent and the overlord.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the prison guard. Yeah.
Next.
Well, it's breaking out of the people. It is the Aquarius is the sign of the people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's each individual, but coming together.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's really, really exciting. I also just wanted to bring something quickly in that the planet Uranus, the day after the new moon, by the way, let's come back to the new moon for a moment. The new moon occurs, by the way, folks, on the 22nd of January. And in Brisbane, on the east coast of Australia, it's 6:53 a.m. in the morning of the 23rd. Now, those in the southern states, it's just the same time, but your clock will be an hour forward because you're on daylight savings. So around 7 o'clock in the morning is the actual moment of the new moon. And for those who like to set intentions and so on, or, come stop and pause and have some clarity about this new lunar cycle coming in, that's the time to do it, in the day before, the day of the new moon, and the day after. And then we start to, move forward with the new momentum. So in 1781, the planet Uranus was actually discovered. And Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, because up until then, Saturn was said to be the ruler of this sign. Uranus was discovered, and that's a whole other hour-long conversation in itself, about what was happening, what that represents. But that back then was an important, powerful moment of breakthrough of a new consciousness on this planet about the common people. Up until then, that wasn't even a concept.
Yes.
You know, there were lords and overlords, and there were serfs and poor people, and and slaves, and the very idea that people might have rights never even occurred to anybody, really. It certainly wasn't in the field, but it really started to break through then.
Yeah. That feudal system had to go.
Had to go. They're trying to bring it back again, but yeah.
Yes, now it's got to go again. Sorry.
But we're not having it.
No.
And what was happening in that chart, because I love looking at the charts when a planet's discovered and named, because it just tells us so much. Pluto was at 6 degrees of Aquarius when Uranus was discovered. So as we're kind of on the brink of Pluto finally finishing his very important work in Capricorn, and it moves into Aquarius, all sorts of amazing things. Like that was massive, the discovery of Uranus. Everything changed from that point on. Everything. Yeah. So yeah, big times. All right. So where to now, Cheryl? Where are we up to?
Where are we up to? The next day.
Oh, the next day.
Yes.
Okay, so the new moon, and by the way, of course, the new moon, the first new moon of the year is Chinese New Year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So this is the beginning of their year. And it's this Aquarian new moon. And I just love that, you know, those two kind of cycles fit together so beautifully. And so that marks another really powerful energetic shift.
Yeah.
You know, we know people who really studied Chinese astrology, and like I have an astrologer friend, Richard Giles. He and I would be speaking with a couple of other people at a weekend astrology conference in early February in the Aquarian month, and he always talks about the Chinese and the year coming. So it's a change from the year of the tiger, and boy was it full on.
Yeah.
To the year of the rabbit.
Yeah.
You know, which is very, very, I'm no expert here at all, but very different energy, you know, much quieter, calmer.
Yeah. Hopeful.
Easier, hopeful. Yeah. Sweet little bunny rabbit. Surely that won't get up to too much trouble.
Well, they can eat up a crop.
That's true.
Munch away.
So the following year, the following day.
I was going to say we skipped a lot.
I'm still thinking about the rabbit and the Chinese New Year. The following day, on the 23rd, Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, turns direct. So what a Uranian couple of days that is. Really phenomenal, because on the 20th, of course, the sun leaves Capricorn and goes into Aquarius. And then on the 22nd, the new moon, and then on the 23rd, so all that over those days of the new moon, Uranus is actually stationary, the ruler of the sign of. So it's like how much more Uranian could those few days get? Not much at all. So it's very, very, very strong, and that whole combination could be, you know, like you want to use words like seismic, you know, change, radical, upheaval, disruption, things happening really quickly, unexpected, sudden dramatic changes that take us by surprise. But I always say about Uranus that its methods can be quite dramatic and shocking and sudden, but it's always about liberation and higher consciousness.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting, you know, I have a friend who's a Taurus, because Uranus is in Taurus, and I saw her 2 weeks ago. Everything was fine, and the following week she's in ICU in hospital with severe vertigo, which was, you know, throwing up and dizziness and lost of balance, couldn't walk, couldn't read, couldn't see. It was severe. Yeah. So out of the blue, out
Out
of
of
the
the
blue.
blue.
Yeah. So yeah, this is an example of the type of things that can happen and happen really fast. And
Like
of
that.
course, yeah, and of course, there's things like breaking bones, for
That's
example.
right.
Just out of the blue, you trip over and boom.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm,
It can be like a car accident, and
mm,
nobody needs to be hurt necessarily, of
yeah.
course, but suddenly your car's written off, or the front end's caved in, and in that moment everything's changed because you were on your way somewhere, and all of a sudden everything has completely changed.
Yeah.
That's very so it's breakages, things breaking, but it's also about breakthroughs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But it's fun.
it's
I was going to say it's funny though because I have a friend who's a friend over in Western Australia who's an astrologer, and she was an Aquarius, and she is. And every time there's a transit of some sort in uh, for her, she said I'd stay home and put my head under the bed until it had passed. But things would happen at home, like burst water pipes, and it's all that.
exactly.
Couldn't escape it.
No, I have literally over the years met a couple of people who are very Aquarian uranium who actually have an effect on electricity.
Oh yeah.
And
Mm,
they say this happens to me all the time. I can just be around electrical equipment and things break down all the time. They just
yeah.
don't work.
Yep.
And then I leave and things start work. In fact, this happened to our fridge. We've got two
Mm.
fridges in the house, me and my daughter, and I love having two fridges. It's fantastic. That's just a little aside. But this fridge literally stopped working. The light was still on, electricity was still coming through, but overnight I went to open it. Everything in the freezer had thawed out. And so we emptied everything out and put it in the other fridge, crammed it in. And it was the weekend. So it took us a while to figure out what to do about this. What was the best thing? Buy a new fridge, get a techie in to sort of, lo and behold, it started working again.
Yeah. Yeah. Things like that have happened to me too. Computers have shut down, wouldn't work for days and days. Turned it on before the tech guy comes just to double check. It
Exactly.
works.
Exactly. Or he actually arrives and turns it on, and it's all fine.
Yeah.
I know. This is Uranus at work. It's strange, it's weird, it's peculiar, it's hard to understand, but things can happen suddenly on the symbol for Aquarius is the two wavy
Yes.
lines of energy, of
Yeah.
electricity. Yeah. It's electric. And our own body electric circuits can be impacted, which is why often sleep is affected.
Mm.
We get a bit agitated, a bit highly strung. Things might be happening that are really jangling our nervous system.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a high vibration, and it's not always that kind to the body in the physical realm.
Mm. Mm. That's
Mm.
true. Yeah.
Mm. But it's
Mm.
also, I always have to say this about Uranus, it's also quite exciting because it is about liberating us.
Mm.
It might be, you know what, I'm not doing that anymore, or I'm ending this relationship or this friendship or whatever, and we set ourselves free from something, or something
Mm.
happens that we didn't plan, but when we really look, we go, actually, that's the best thing that could happen. I was ready for a change anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's unpredictable. It can get a bit weird, but it's all about this shift to this new energetic of the Aquarian age.
Mm. Yeah. Bring it on, I suppose.
I suppose it's a little bit of hesitation there.
Well, yes, because with all change comes a bit of grief, no matter what it is.
True.
That's the nature of change. So, even changing your car, if you bring it, you got a new
Exactly.
car.
It's
Oh, I
letting
drove that
go.
car for 10
I
years.
know. I love that car. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. Um, Absolutely. There was something that popped in there and it's popped out again. That's all right. Oh, I know what I wanted to say about was related to what you just started to say then. Really helpful when this energy of Aquarius and Uranus is really up and really strong, and we might be feeling a bit discombobulated, grounding.
Mm,
My father was an electrician. That was his first trade. He went on and did all sorts of things, but he had Mars in Aquarius. And I learned from him from a very young age that electricity needs a grounding, an earthing wire.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not safe.
Mm.
It's too much. So earthing that electrical high vibration of Aquarius is when we're feeling a bit like literally feet on the earth, sit on the earth, lie on the earth, like conscious grounding really helps to sort of calm that down, soothe that, go for a long walk. It can help with sleep. Water too is helpful. I think water is very soothing for this energy, long bath. Anything that helps to sort of soothe and calm that energy is helpful.
Yeah. Very healing.
Just don't put an electric plug in the bath, because
It's happened.
I know I suddenly got this image of getting in the bath and, electricity. No, 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 they don't mix.
Oh dear, that's as bad as knocking a glass of wine in the water. Oh dear. So what else have we got there?
Well, the other thing, of course, that many people watching this will already be aware of this, but a bunch of planets have all been moving in direct motion, turning from retrograde motion and turning back into forward motion. So that by the end of this month, because, Uranus turning direct on the 23rd is the final planet. So Mars is now direct. Mercury will turn direct on the 18th of January, right, which is just, before the new moon. So there'll be no planets retrograde after Uranus turns direct. So it's great. Oh, I think, we all kind of go, thank goodness, that feels good. So for a few months, I think it's through till about April, everything's in forward motion. There is an asteroid series, an important one, who is still retrograde, but all the actual planets are in direct forward motion now for a few months. And because Mars is now direct and Jupiter's in Aries, there's a lot of energy and forward momentum. So, and with this Uranian and Aquarian new moon, there's a lot of energy. So if things have been in a bit of a lull for a while, not anymore. Things can really pick up pace.
Right, yeah. So do you have any specific other dates that you think people should look out for the next moon cycle?
There's not really a lot. It's interesting, like Mercury goes direct before the new moon, the day after the new moon. By the way, on the day after, when Uranus turns direct, there'll be a conjunction of Venus and Saturn in Aquarius as well. So that's just kind of adding to this Aquarian theme. And that's kind of a lot about relationship theme.
Okay. Really?
Venus conjunct Saturn. Venus and Saturn, when they are together in some kind of contact or aspect or alignment in a chart or in the sky, one of the things that can be about is commitment in relationship. And what does that mean? And in some cases, when they come together, it can be, I can no longer commit to this relationship.
Yeah, right.
Particularly on this new moon energy, it could, for some, be a moment of moving on from something.
Yeah, right.
Or making a choice to actually commit to a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Venus in relation to money, for example? With that conjunction, in Aquarius.
But yeah.
Unexpected restrictions with money or something
yes,
like that.
Or making important new decisions about your finances.
Yeah.
And in Aquarius, it might be in a very different way than you've done before, or your thinking changes, or you suddenly have a strong need to reorganize your finances. Like Aquarius and money kind of makes me think of things like digital money and so on.
Yeah.
And the influence of technology in the financial world, particularly with Uranus going through Taurus, which is ruled by Venus.
Yes, yeah.
So that can be a factor. So I think, people making, and the thing about Saturn, So Venus with Saturn is coming to terms with something. Saturn's always demanding action. I was going to be softer about it, but no, he demands that we be accountable and that we face facts.
Yes,
So
yes.
if we've been a bit slack with our spending and, you know, and our money management, you might say, okay, time to pull yourself together and get yourself organized. That's very Saturn.
Yes, so things like people looking at their investments, or
Mm-hmm.
like you say, how they spend money, or maybe new
Yeah,
values, that
that's right.
sort of thing. You know,
And
maybe using money to acquire something different that you value.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right. What do you value? You know, we
yeah.
both have Venus in Aquarius, and that's where she is now.
Mm,
So, you know, Venus going through the signs, it very much speaks to what do you value, and
yeah,
that's very often what we spend our money on.
yeah, yeah.
What we spend our money on, what we value,
Mm,
which
mm.
will be very different to somebody else who has a completely different set of values and just goes, "What are you spending all your money on that for?"
Yeah, I've had that all my life from my mother. What do you want to buy that
Right,
for?
completely different set of values.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Right, that's right,
yeah,
and
yeah.
seeing money in a very different way, particularly in Aquarius.
Mm,
You know,
mm.
it's more. The other thing about Aquarius, of course, that it's very egalitarian. You know, everybody having an equal seat at the table.
Yes, yeah,
You know, it's not hierarchical.
yeah.
It doesn't mean that in a certain situation or something that needs to happen, a project, someone doesn't take the lead, but they only take the lead because they're the most appropriate person in that situation to do so. But
Mm.
everybody also has a voice. It's not just one person taking over.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's actually how our UFO organization, our committee works, because, you know, I've got Aquarius rising, I'm the president, and I
Yes.
never take, only take the lead in when we're having a meeting to
Yes.
be facilitated, but I always ask everyone's opinion
Yeah.
about something, get their feedback, etc., because I'm not running the show. It's about everyone running the show, you know. Mm,
Exactly. And that's like and women do this a lot. There are men's groups too that come together in circle
mm,
and sit in a circle because a circle represents and is symbolic of nobody's in charge here.
yes, yeah,
Somebody might be facilitating, but they're holding the space for everyone to participate and have a voice,
yes, yeah.
contribute.
Mm, mm.
That's the Aquarian, yeah. And that's why, you know, like with Venus in Aquarius, there's that great enjoyment and pleasure in coming together.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah. I,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. I wonder if that would sort of relate to. I've got a friend who's involved with an orchestra, so
Ah.
I wonder if that would relate
Ah.
to that. You know, people coming together in enjoyment, playing beautiful music, and you know,
And
mm,
everybody has a role, don't they,
yeah,
in the group.
yeah,
It's a group, sign of the group.
yes, they're all
And I guess
different.
an orchestra is a community in a way,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly. Yeah, they're all different backgrounds, but they come together to create this beautiful music.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
So much to ponder on this time. There's
So
so much.
much to ponder on. I know.
Yes, but I love talking about Aquarius and
Yes.
Aquarian ideals, and
Yes.
what they
Uh,
represent for us, and
yes.
yeah,
That's right.
how that can.
That's right.
And actually, one more thing, it's a very intelligent sign too.
Very. This
Yeah.
is actually the sign of the genius. I'm glad you brought that up. Exactly.
Mm,
It's that higher mind and consciousness.
mm,
Geniuses, you know, people with extraordinary genius do have pretty much always strong Aquarius statements in their chart.
mm, mm,
And I think what that says too is that they represent humanity's collective potential. They're just a bit further ahead. And that as humanity awakens, and that's awakening process is happening quick, literally our intelligence is expanding. There are forces of control in this world that want to shut down humanity's
mm,
intelligence. They've been
mm,
doing a pretty good job
mm.
in the last century or so.
Yeah.
But so awakening is also about kind of opening all those different centers in the brain, those centers of light in the brain.
Yeah. And you said a word, higher mindedness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not just about intellect, it's about thinking in a higher way too.
That's right.
Yeah. So
That's
it's coming at life from a much broader a perspective of a
yeah.
bigger picture.
Yeah, it's a very visionary sign.
Yes. Yeah.
Always looking forward to what's possible because their intelligence is open to the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just floating along on all those words.
Yeah, I know. We love it, huh?
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for all that information. That's wonderful to understand what we're going through. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a really important time of the year right now, in terms of this. It's a real shift.
Yeah.
It's really a shift happening. Yeah. Energetic shift.
And I feel it's a setup for it, for the bigger shift coming.
Yes.
Yeah, like you said,
Exactly.
portal, beginning that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, opening another door.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Cheryl.
I'm going to float along on the
I know this Aquarian
car trails now.
turquoise
Yes,
wave.
yeah. So, everyone, if you enjoyed this chat that we've had, please remember to like and subscribe and share with your friends if you feel that they would be interested in what we've been chatting about. And we look forward to seeing you once again in the next episode when we're back with what's the next one?
It's
full
the
moon.
Leo Aquarius full moon.
Oh, there you go. Yes. Lovely. That's another interesting one, isn't it?
It is. It's another one filled with light.
Yes. Oh, great. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And everyone stay safe until we see you again. And bye for now.
Bye, everyone.